Hello, everyone. It's John Benson back with day 21 of Persuade and Profit Live here on Facebook. Hopefully, you guys are having a good day, and it's going to get even better because today we're going to talk about more about the $50 million sales letter blueprint. This thing is worth 50 million bucks, not necessarily to you, but it has been to me and my clients. So hopefully, it will be to you as well. So we're going to let some people pile on here because we are, as usual, 30 seconds behind. So I'm going to let people out here. Here comes everybody. Awesome. So if you remember last time we talked about the one thing you want somebody to remember, the one thing you want them to believe inside of a sales letter. Then we talked about what those one things are. It's the one cause, the one solution. So today is the one solution. It's all about the one solution, which we call the primary solution. It's also called a positive hook, meaning we've got a negative hook. This is a bad thing. And if you remember back from yesterday, the bad thing in my diet example was called the boomer bug. I got something on my lip. Got to get that off. And so the boomer bug was my bad thing. What is your bad thing? What is your primary cause? So that is what we focused on yesterday. Today, we're going to focus on the primary solution. Cool? Awesome. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. And by the way, don't forget, I am, again, John Benson, the $1 billion copy coach, because my copy has made over $1 billion for my customers and my clients. So that's kind of cool. And don't forget to comment below so that you can be a chance to win tomorrow. We're going to announce the next winner tomorrow to be one of 4 people on a private coaching call with me for 90 minutes. And that call is worth $2,500 per person. So yeah, that's something you might want to win. And only commenters who comment win. And the more you comment, the more you have a chance to win. And we don't count comments like yes, hello. We count real comments. So please add to the discussion. We really want you to add to the discussion. So hello, Michael. Hello, Beat Up Terry, Bogan, you guys. Liana, thanks a lot for joining me live yet again. This is awesome. And we're going to dive into the training. But before I do that, I do want to remind you that you can type join me in the comments below. And that will automatically introduce you to my big blue doppelganger, Dr. John. Dr. John bot will come into your messenger and say hi, nice things to you. Also give you some cool stuff and cool tips, and we'll send articles your way. I'm not going to bombard you every day, but this is a way for us to keep up with you, for you to keep up with us, rather, on what we're doing on Facebook. And we're having new trainings coming out. And obviously, if we have anything that we think that you might find useful and helpful, we'll send to you. So just type join me if you want to be a part of that. And that way we can remind you when these Facebook Lives go live too, because it's a lot easier than sending out emails. So cool. That's how that works. And it's kind of fun to see the whole bot thing work. So you can type join me and take it from there. Meet Mr. Blue. Okay, so I'm going to go over the patterns that the sections we're going to cover today. The very first one's called the pattern spy. And the pattern spy is all about how you, in your journey to find an answer to whatever problem that you're selling, so the solution, you're selling a solution, but you're selling a solution to a problem. And during your discovery of the solution, you went through a journey. And I call that being a pattern spy. I'm looking for patterns of successful people. So I start there. Well, first thing you want to do is look at who succeeded in weight loss, or who succeeded in dog training, and who succeeded in, you just fill in the blank, who succeeded in whatever industry that you're in. And that's who you want to find, one person as a role model. It could be your mom. It could be someone famous. I prefer someone famous because that's something that most people can relate to. So if I said Tony Robbins was one of my pattern spy people that I spied on for business success, that would be true. The guy I'm going to introduce today is actually true inside my copy. So and there's a lot of others, but you'll see the point. You'll see exactly how I work that into the copy. Then we're going to cover what's called the positive hook, or the primary solution. You kind of already know what that is if you've been paying attention for the last couple of days. And then we're going to talk about the third section inside this section called what to do next. Now, this entire section is called the one solution. So we're going to talk about the one solution, and we're going to start with the join me. So let's get over to my solo screen. Hopefully this is all going to work fine. Everybody's going to hear me okay. And once again, we dive over into Email Copy Pro. I'm going to dive back over and make sure that we're all good. We're all good over here. It looks like we're all good over here. We're all good. Cool. So we're back in Email Copy Pro. And again, this is the $50 million sales letter blueprint that we give as a bonus when you get Email Copy Pro. johnbenson.com/email. You'll get this entire thing dynamically generated to your stuff. All the stuff you see here in green, this light green underline, that's all dynamic to my stuff. Stuff I can change anytime I want to change it, just that simple, to make it flow and sound like it's so good, right? The rest of the words are ours, and this is the great blueprint for you to use. Really good. So even if you change 50% of the words, that's good. You got the blueprint, man. You got the blueprint of a letter that's made over $50 million. Not bad. So here are the tips. The first one is join me. And join. I said join me. I got join me up on the screen. It's like, no, join me would be cool if you want to join me for the deal. The very first one's actually called the Pattern Spy. So a little tricky there. I threw a curveball by you. So the very first one's called the Pattern Spy. And this is how I start this tip up. I start this off. And remember, don't forget the subheadline tutorial that I've done. I did that like 3 days ago. Do check that out. It tells how to create subheadlines that are mini sales pages. So can't go back into that now, but you can go watch the video. A tip I learned and picked up along the journey and along the way that changed my life forever. Okay. So this is a whole idea about spotting patterns. And I love this whole concept. You know, I learned to spot consistent patterns. And one of the ways I did it was leveraging the power of role models. Now, my very first book, by the way, now, it just so happens to be that this is not about my first book. This is about another book. But my first book was Fit Over 40. And the subtitle was Role Models for Excellence at Any Age. That was the subtitle. I've been a major fan of role modeling my entire life. Finding people who have already figured out what I've done or what I want to do, and they've already done it. So why reinvent the wheel? So, right, just look at the role models and figure out, and then take what you want from them and then create the rest for yourself. So I work that into my own sales letter, but also into sales letters that you should write, because this is exactly what you should be doing. You should tell your readers, hey, look, it's not just my opinion here. I decided to become a little spy and look at people and figure out what they were doing that made it work for them. And then I just go right into the story of one of my favorite weight loss success pattern stories involves Dave Asprey. Now, Dave Asprey is the CEO of Bulletproof Coffee. Dave, if you're watching this, you should have your head like go this big. You should be really big right now. Dave's also a good friend of mine. But he's also, this is true, he wasn't always a beacon of health. So he lost almost 100 pounds, kept it off. So I just tell his story here. So I tell a story of someone that most people will know, the CEO of Bulletproof Coffee. Bulletproof Coffee is relatively famous, and most people know that. Then we go into what's behind the success and how you can replicate it, right? So there is a reason why, and I actually quote Tony Robbins here in my own copy, success leaves clues, as Tony Robbins says, and Dave left some incredibly valuable clues for me to follow. So what is behind the success of Dave, right? And then we get into the next step over here. So we're going to do some diving back and forth here. We're going to scroll down in our blueprint manual here, and we notice that this is the Pattern Spy. That's the role model. That's the before is after. Delete what's behind success. If you want to delete this, you can. This is optional. You can delete it if you want to. But I left it in here because I like what's behind his success if you want to have it in there. In other words, what caused Dave to be successful? These couple, he did this, he did this, he did this. And they all have, his traits and my traits have this in common. There's a common trait to everyone that's successful here. Everyone, that, whether it's Dave or anyone else that's lost weight, in my case, anyone else that's trained their dog, anyone else that's learned to ride a horse, any of that. There's a common trait, a hint to the positive hook. There's one thing. Do you notice that I keep doing this? The common trait. There's not common traits. Notice it isn't that. It's this. The common trait. So not to confuse you guys, I'm just going to take this out. You can keep it in there, though, by the way. You can keep it in there. I kept it in there in my actual story, but you can take it out because it's harder to do that. You might not know what their trait was. Like you might not know how Tony Robbins lost weight or Tony Robbins built a business. You might not know that. In case you do, you can leave it in there. So I'll leave it in there for now. I'm going back and forth on that one. So, but everyone's got a common trait. One common thing that this guy or this person or this girl and me and everyone that I've coached with, everyone's doing something right. And you'll notice that what I'm doing over here, it's one thing. It's the one common trait. Are there common traits among the truly successful? Yes, there are. And I can say, is there a common trait? So I will edit this. I'm tricking you guys. I could literally change this to is there a common trait? I'm going to take my own advice today. Is that clever of me to do that? I think so. So there you go. So you can change that now. Is there a common trait? Yeah, there is a common trait. And that common trait is called rotational refeeding. So I walked right into my positive hook. And I do that first by saying how fast it worked for me. So once I started doing this, I started getting this within 90 days or so. My entire outlook on dieting changed. And the success I had once struggled, the success I had once struggled to find, finally found me. I love that sentence. I just think that's kind of cool. If my success found me. You see, I'm taking a lot of ease off of the buyer here. I'm taking ease. I'm giving them a lot of stress off the buyer and giving them ease, right? That's how fast it worked for me. And this is what's really cool. So this is how fast it worked for me. Now, I also have added something else to this letter. You can also say others have had it work even faster. So that's also cool too. This left me with one powerful truth. One powerful truth. That's all that is. One powerful truth. And you know what the powerful truth is? Guess what? It's the common trait. It's the positive hook. The positive hook. So I can come back over here. I'm trying to do this in a slick way where I can show you what I'm doing here. So this is the positive hook. If you really want to succeed, you got to leverage what's called rotational repeating. Now what you can see the verbiage here, right? You got to leverage what's called, what experts call, what I refer to as, this is your primary solution. If I click on that, primary solution, that's my primary solution. And my examples here, I got 3. So because I have 3 different products. So if I have 3 different products, I have 3 different things. So just FYI, you can have more than one product in Email Copy Pro. But in this one, it's rotational repeating. That is my hook for everything. Okay. And inside, if you look over here, you will see that you have to leverage, you have to take advantage of what's called primary solution. We used it and wow. This is the next step. We used it and wow. Okay. When I finally shared this with a small group of my customers and colleagues, the consensus was, this is wow. That's the answer. But notice that this is built-in testimonial. I shared this with a small group of insiders, my friends and my family and some test subjects. Essentially, I'm saying we tested this in the lab and wow, it blew everyone away. Isn't that so much cooler than what a lot of people do? Because I'm building up the case study. A lot of people say, over 10,000 people have used this already, blah, 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 blah. Well, you're not to the product yet. So they're not using that. They're taking advantage of the hook. So when I shared this whole rotational refeeding secret with people, it freaked them out. So now you're building the case for the hook for the primary solution, not the product. The product comes in step 4. So first of all, now you're going to define what it is, the positive hook, or what we call the primary solution. So what is it? You just define it. I'll unpack it a little bit further, and then I give an analogy. I want you to imagine it like if it was a diet workout. Picture a workout. You go hard, then you go home and rest. Well, that's kind of what you do with food. So I give an analogy. Picture it like this. And then I give a couple of quick hook tips. Just a few tips. And it literally says just a few tips for starting rotational repeating. And I give a couple of tips here. Here's my first tip. There's another tip, et cetera, et cetera. And guess what? I repeat until I'm through with my tips. And I go into the third section. What do you do next? Right? What do you do next? That's the final section of this is what do you do next? Good, but not good enough. The tips I gave you, they're great. They will get you started, but they're not going to get you to where you want to go. There's one more important step that you have to take to get where you want to go. It's the definitive system for X. So if you see how I worded this up, see how I worded this over here. I'm trying to be slick with my key commands today, and I'm not messing up. So what do you do next? I start with successfully. Now, this is my own writing. You can write whatever you want to do. Here's the story. So here's what the definitive system for maximizing rotational refeeding. This is important. Let me share how I came up with what many a weight loss enthusiast calls the definitive system. Now, what am I doing here? See, I could dissect every single sentence for you guys, like I said, but we'd be here for months. I'm not going to do that. But I want you to see what's inside these blueprints. We think through every sentence. Yeah, well, just about every sentence. Sometimes we just write, but I think every sentence. Let me share how I came up with what many, and I'd say a fitness lover, a dieter, what many a dieter calls the definitive system for maximizing this cool hook that I just told you about. All the stuff up here I just told you about. There's a way to maximize the results of rotational refeeding. Well, here's the story. And I tell a story that follows this very simple pattern. Successfully clues, as I've told you. And if you follow what these people are doing, you're going to get this result, all without all these drawbacks. And that's all this is right here. And believe it or not, everything you're seeing here is actually in Email Copy Pro dropdowns. Look at that. You fill in 1, 2 fields, 3. 3 fields that you fill in Email Copy Pro, and you get all this. It puts it all together for you. So I didn't want you to have to be thinking about like stuff like, I'm sorry, I clicked the wrong button. I wanted to be thinking of stuff like, how do I transition out of this? So I wrote all these transitions for you, right? So we got all these transitions and all these transitions here. We walk you right through how to create a USP. This is the offer setup. Then we go right into the USP. And right here, that's back and forth. That's what this is, the offer setup and the offer USP. You need a really strong USP. This resulted in the world's foremost blueprint for anyone wanting to lose weight that rapidly gives you the ability to burn fat without counting calories, etc. That's my USP factory structure. It's worked through literally thousands and thousands of video sales letters and sales pages. This simple little paragraph right here is your elevator pitch. If someone came up to you in an elevator and said, so tell me what is the whole thing with this 4-day thyroid diet? I said, well, it's the world's 4 months blueprint for anyone wanting to lose weight. Gives you the ability to rapidly burn fat, keep your thyroid hormones optimized, look younger, and feel better. That's your bullet. That's your USP. It's the world's foremost blueprint for anyone wanting. Now, you could also say it resulted in the world's only blueprint that contains rotational refeeding. It's perfect for anyone wanting to lose weight, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I just did the very simple version where I didn't have to think through it, but that's another way you can do it. It does it all without X. So very important to do this without counting calories, without starving yourself, without exercising daily, without doing without your favorite foods. Again, all of these are inside this right here, right? And on top of that, it's a plan that just about every weight loss enthusiast ever tried finds trailblazing, kid-friendly, and lifestyle-friendly. Okay, so yeah, I could say dieter, I could say fat loss pro, fat burner, whatever I want to say there. And that ends up to section 3, introducing the product. So we didn't even get to the product until section 4. Section 4 in this thing is where the product is. It's called the only answer. We're going to cover that, my friends, mañana. So I'm going to come back over here and go into my solo thing. And let's not forget, you can always get Email Copy Pro and all this badass stuff that I'm showing you. This really cool stuff I'm showing you. I'm trying not to say naughty words. Because Facebook has become the handmaid's tale. JohnBenson.com/email if you want to get Email Copy Pro. That's obviously, it's more than just a sales letter. In case you're just watching this first video and going, what's this guy talking about? This is actually going to give you literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of emails that you can use for promotions, for content, for engagement, for consumption of your product. And they're written by not just me, but by about 30 guys that are just the top email marketers in the world. So this is the stuff, the blueprints we know work. That's all at Email Copy Pro. Go to johnbenson.com/email, and you can watch my workshop on what this is all about, and you can get it at a discount too. So that's what's going on there. Now, we got some questions. In my experience, those transitions and pivots are gold for copy, because without them, the readers get stuck in boring details. Oh yeah, it's very true. Like transitions in any conversation are massively important. And I go back to psychology because I was a psychology minor. Like there's a principle of transitions when you're dealing with somebody, when you're having an argument, for example. There's some studies out right now, and there's one book in particular, I can't remember the name of it, that covers this in detail. And ladies, you may want to know this in case if you're married to a guy or you're in a relationship with a guy, the worst time to have any kind of conversation with a guy, they say, is in transition mode. And transition mode for a male brain is I have to get woman from place A to place B. Ugh. It's your primitive brain taking over. You're driving, and it's the last time you want to have a guy. It's the worst time to have a conversation. Worst time to bring up anything that's like, what are we going to do about the kids? Why did you say that at the party? The worst time to do it is in transition, because we're in brain protection mode. We're in protecting the spouse mode, protecting the woman mode. And knowing that stuff, there's 1,000 other transitions. Obviously, there's tons for women too, but there's tons for your readers. Those transitional phrases, those transitional times help the brain of your mind of your prospect go from one idea to the other and do it in a soothing way, do it in a way that makes complete sense to them. So that's very important. Thank you for saying that. Michael said, I'm rebooting my digital marketing consultancy the last 2 or 3 months, getting more and more requests for social media strategy versus email real engagement and optimization. I think I'm going to the dark side, focusing more on social media than straight email. Yeah, it's awesome. Go to the dark side, but use the same copy. By all means, I mean, use the same principles. It's the thing that I just find baffling when I talk to people that are really into social media. I'm going to have to hide your comment because it's hiding my face. Is simply because they think that social media, all of a sudden, the psychology of the reader changes. The human beings that you're reaching aren't changing. They're the same human beings, right? They're the same mindset as they had the reading email. Now, only subtle things change. Like the way that you approach something might change. The way that, for example, for a sales letter, I wouldn't do a pattern interrupt necessarily. You couldn't do like a visual pattern in a video sales letter, they're mandatory almost. I mean, so that psychology is different. So there are certain things that you say differently on social media. You are more conversational, for example. But when it comes to getting someone to take action, guess what? I got people going into Email Copy Pro taking the content segments, they're taking the promotional emails that we have in there and popping those into social media, because it's the same thing. It's persuasion. It's just persuasion. So you need to know the same skills for sure, for sure. Terry said it's so helpful to see how you were using a template and show the copy back. Thank you. I'm trying to go back and forth and make it make sense. And obviously we can't go through the whole thing, giving you as much value as I can in the 20 to 30 minutes that we have here. So thank you so much. And so awesome. So I'm going to take any other questions that you guys have. And before I forget, again, if you do type join me into the comments, you will meet my blue alter ego. He's only slightly more muscular and more ripped than I am, but he's blue. He's blue, and he's pretty cool dude. So you got to meet that guy. Join me in there to join that, and that way you can keep up with what we're doing as well on Messenger, so we can ping you and let you know what's going on live and all this kind of stuff. So Michael, let me know if that made sense to you. Hopefully it did. I preach this gospel all the time. The psychology of human nature is not going to change. It hasn't changed since the time of Socrates, and it's not changing until the next major shift in human evolution is happening. So in fact, Terry echoes in saying using the same principles, thinking through your outline and everything I write is going to help me stay connected. Yes, it will absolutely help you stay more connected. And these principles, by the way, are not just for sales pages. I mean, to prove the point, I purposely set aside 5 or 6 days of this training to go over a sales page, because I really want to give you guys more value than you can possibly imagine. I want to give you more than just here's cool little copy tricks that you can use in email. I want to give you a structure that's made my clients $50 million. I mean, it's a lot of, that's some serious giveaway, right? And I want to show you why, so that you can build this on your own if you have to. Like if there's no way you can get like email copy pro, for example, you can at least start piecing this together and thinking through the ways, thinking through the method of persuasion that we found to be very, very successful, that I found to be very successful. So hopefully that you guys get a lot out of that, but you can use this. Case in point, email copy pro has a sales page blueprint. You can use that copy strategy in anything. Michael, you can use it in social media. Angela, you can use it in reaching out to people through blog posts. It does not matter. The copy strategies are going to work universally because they're persuasion strategies. So speaking of persuasion strategies, we will be back tomorrow with the offer part of the sales letter blueprint. And you need to see this, because guess what? Without a pitch, you ain't got an offer. And you're going to need to know how to pitch it, right? So that's tomorrow, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will see you guys then. Thanks for showing up. I'll see you.